All right, everybody, welcome back to another movie comm. And today we're going to be watching Batman Returns while commentating. And I'm watching this on HBO Max, and it's currently paused at 6 seconds. And we're about to start it here any second now. So those of you guys that want to watch along, get ready to press play in 3, 2, 1, press play. And right off the bat, I just wanted to say that even as a kid, I was expecting, for whatever reason, I was expecting this movie to be kind of different than what I got. And let's just say I got something different than what I expected. Now, with that being said, does that mean it's bad? No. It does not mean it's bad, but it's just quite different. So let's talk about that. Like right off the bat, you're introduced to the Cobblepot Mansion, and the first person that you see is Mr. Cobblepot himself, right? The father of the Penguin, and basically he goes in screaming after the birth of his kid, and yeah, he can't believe what he sees for whatever reason. I guess the wife gave birth to like a half penguin type of child, and he's basically in this crib right here that you see right in front of that white cat, and he's in that crib and he's like trying to get out, obviously. Um and my assumption is that he eats the cat. And the Cobblepots just do not, obviously, are not fond of their kid, and they make the decision of pretty much abandoning their kid by taking him to the park on a snowy night, and they just throw him over the little bridge or whatnot and into the water, and down the sewers the kid goes. And that's basically the story of how everything starts. And again, when people are talking about how there's so much focus in the Batman films, specifically the first few Batman films like this one and the previous one, about where the villains are like the main event, it's absolutely true, because ultimately, I mean, look at what the way this movie starts. It starts with the Penguin. It starts with Oswald Cobblepot. It starts with him. It's about his story. It's not about anyone else's story. So it's not about Batman's story, right? So the focus throughout the film is with this character. Now, with that being said, though, it is a pretty solid start, and this movie is actually pretty dark and very adult themed. And you could tell from the very start and everything, you could tell that Tim Burton was given 100% control over this one in comparison to the first one. You can tell it by the font, which Tim Burton uses a lot of white font in this kind of style. And even with the theme, there's some Tim Burton isms with the theme. Like when you watch Edward Scissorhands and you listen to the score of the film or the music of the film, there's some similarities with this one, and just like every other Tim Burton film. So, and then of course when the Batman title comes up, you see the bats kind of come up, so that was kind of epic. But ultimately, and the thing is, again, a lot of the supporting cast that's been in the previous film, for instance, Michael Goth, that we call Michael Go, and Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, of course, reprise their roles, which is good. So it lets you know that it's a continuation from the first one. And of course, the title's called Batman Returns. And despite the fact that the title's called Batman Returns, it's like, it really kind of is a little bit, it's kind of a downer that we just don't see enough Batman. But with that being said, Danny DeVito, bless his heart, does a really good job of carrying this film with what he does. And of course, with the supporting cast, like obviously Michelle Pfeiffer is a big one. As you just saw in the credits, if you're following along, is that Danny Elfman reprises his role. And I have this, I keep going back and forth in terms of which composer I prefer for these types of films, whether it's Danny Elfman or whether it's Hans Zimmer. I love them quite both. And like whichever one you would choose to put in a Batman film, I would be very happy with, because over the years these gentlemen in these films have done a really good job. I particularly have a soft spot for the original 1989 score in comparison to this, because even though it retains a lot of the same elements, there's a lot of differences as well. Again, probably thanks to Tim Burton's direction and what Tim Burton was like. And well, not just that, maybe not even that. Maybe it's just because of the fact that the composer was making a theme that would match what you see on screen, right? Like when you look at some of video games, for instance, like Donkey Kong Country, for instance, right? Aquatic ambience really does match what you see on your screen. So it's like, okay, how do I get that but appease the ears, right? So that's what I think, that's how a composer thinks. And then we fast forward to 33 years later in Gotham City. So, and again, a lot of cat themes in this one. And it's again a nod to Catwoman, and that's fine. Michelle Pfeiffer just Michelle Pfeiffer. I don't know. When we get to her, I'll go more in depth, but I don't know how to quite describe Michelle Pfeiffer in the role, because I absolutely love what she did. But um, but at the same time, it was almost kind of like she made the role her own, if that makes sense. I will say, I will say that what I really love about her performance is her Catwoman voice. Like when she's in the suit, it's kind of like, to what Batman does with his voice when he's in the suit, right? Catwoman does the same thing. There's no change. I mean, excuse me. There's change. There's a difference between Selena Kyle and Catwoman, just like there's a difference between Twain in terms of the voice and Batman. So, and I actually like hers quite a bit. And then, of course, as you see from the newspaper, penguins all over the place, and then Alfred is basically, he's all about like, hey, it's most of the time it's a waste of time to read rubbish. So, um, so yeah, and that's pretty cool though. I think this is the first film, if not one of the Batman films. I don't know. I think it might be the first one to where we actually see Alfred before we see Batman, or before we see Bruce or whatever. So, and then at the top of this building right here, you see the cat, the rotating cat head, which is kind of cute. And then, of course, you for the first time you see Selena Kyle in this meeting. I guess a board meeting that you guys are having with Max Schreck, who is being played by Christopher Walken, and of course, Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, or gonna be Catwoman later on, is basically like, she plays like the innocent secretary who wants to do the right thing, and obviously she makes mistakes just like any other human being and stuff like that. But sometimes that she obviously plays a secretary that's kind of maybe underappreciated or something like. At least that's the kind of vibe that I got. Again, completely the opposite of what you're gonna get from Catwoman. So, which I actually love the way she played it. I actually absolutely love the way she played it. And she was also like, like in terms of her capability as an actress, as well as what she brought to the role, to what the screenplay allowed. And it was a dark film, so she fit perfectly. She played a damn good Catwoman. It would have been interesting to see what Selena's story would have been like. She actually had her own Catwoman. And then, of course, you got this guy over here who does a really good Christopher Walken impression, because he plays Christopher Walken's son, but it's. And, of course, the meeting's over. And she's picking up after them, of course. Not just being a secretary, but she's kind of like the waitress and all that kind of stuff. She also calls herself an executive assistant, but it's like ultimately at the end of the day. And Max Schreck, the character of Max Schreck, if I'm not mistaken, was actually created for this film. And I believe Christopher Walken was handpicked for the role. And you know what? Rightfully so. He actually does a good job in this film, in my opinion, in terms of the kind of character he plays. Not many smiles except for that very moment right there to where he shows like personality. But for the most part, he plays it kind of cold in this film, or lukewarm at very best, unless he's trying to deliver a speech, and like right here, where the people actually like the guy. And yeah, and he's about to give this speech in front of this crowd. He realizes that he forgot. So he's going to kind of do it the hard way, kind of forcing him to kind of speak from the heart, so to speak, if he even has one. Because at the same time, he's ruthless. But there is one scene towards the end of the film, where you show he actually does show that there is something that he does care about and that he's precious for, that's precious to him, and rightfully so. Hell, I might as well just say it now. It's about his son. When Penguin threatens to take his son away, he's like, "Hey, take me instead," or whatnot. Father protecting the son. I'll give him that. And when it comes to the overall look of this film, again, it really resembles Tim Burton, and obviously this also takes place on Christmas, which also kind of resembles, like for instance, when you look at a lot of the Tim Burton films, especially like around the time when Edward Scissorhands came out, this film's color palette and everything like that very much reminds you of Edward Scissorhands. It's almost as if Edward Scissorhands were to make a cameo, it would actually fit in very well with this, believe it or not. And over here we're about to have the attack from the Triangle Gang happen. Yep, and the big box of presents come out, and then you get a whole bunch of bad guys flying out, and then you get people in costumes, full skull costumes that are riding motorcycles, and then all sorts of members that are armed and shit like that. And Selena just wants to get out, and she's got like probably the speech and maybe some other stuff to take with her, but she's terrified because the Triangle Gang is attacking, and yeah, it is what it is. And you get some really cool costumes. Like sometimes you're wondering, is it Christmas or is it Halloween? Because of the costumes. But it's a Tim Burton film, so when you're looking at a Tim Burton film, it's like, well, maybe every Tim Burton is a Halloween film when you come to think about it. And again, this guy's shooting out, and then Santa Claus almost gets hit by this bad guy, and then here come the cops. And then Commissioner Gordon basically says, "What are you guys waiting for? Let's get the signal going." And we get the scene of here with Michael Keaton, aka Bruce Wayne, just sitting there brooding in the dark. And then the lights go off, and the signal basically letting him know that, hey, it's time, you're needed. He gets up out of the chair, he's got that look in his eyes, and yeah, it's time to rock and roll as Batman. And I'm pretty sure if you were at the theater, which I wasn't, I didn't see this in the theater, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure that if you were in the theater and you saw this film, if you were a kid, you were probably like, yeah, here we go. So, and it's kind of nice to see, because in the first film, obviously everybody, all the cops and everybody else was like, they didn't want anything to, they were scared of the Batman, right? The Batman apparently might have even been a killer, but now all of a sudden they know the case. And when you look at the end of the film or the first one, yeah, definitely a good guy. Even though he comes from darkness, he's still a good guy. And we still haven't gotten a full glimpse of, I mean, you get a look of him here, but we still haven't gotten a full glimpse of the Batmobile. Or excuse me, not the Batmobile. Penguin. So, and then you get this dragon dude over here or whatnot, and I'm sorry, the fire dude that's breathing fire out and stuff like that. And you got people getting lit fire, like this poor guy right here. So yeah, this film is actually pretty dark for a PG-13 film, especially in 1992. And here comes Batman doing his thing with the Batmobile. And a lot of people really like the Batsuit in this film. For me personally, I don't know if I would say it's the best one. I really don't, but I mean, it's good. I mean, the bat logo on his chest is, the error from the first film was kind of corrected, but and the cowl's fine, but like the armor in terms of where his protecting is on the stomach area, the abdomen, just kind of looks way off, and it makes it look like the rest of the suit is rubber, which it is. So it's like it's not really armor. But the first costume in the first film was armor, like the whole thing was armor. So in this one, not so much. It kind of looked a little. I don't want to say the word cheaper, but it's just more rubber and just I don't know, man. So, but yeah, but Batman pretty much kills that dude and lights him on fire with the Batmobile. And by the way, the Batmobile, of course, again, selling toys with the rotation that you saw earlier with that rotation thing coming out from the bottom and causing the Batmobile and giving the Batmobile a full 360. And then Batman needs to basically take care of this situation right here with the clown's got Selina hostage. Grapples the wall and he's like, hey, you missed. So he just pulls and bam, knocks the clown out. So it's kind of a funny scene, but at the same time, it's a badass scene. And again, thanks to the rubber and everything like that, it makes Batman's suit look shinier. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but you so yeah, he goes to walk away, I guess, to go talk to the cops. And in this scene right here, Selena Kyle basically says, "What men?" She's basically single. A little bit of suspension of disbelief right there because, well, how in the world can you believe that Selena Kyle is actually single? A woman like that. Thanks for saving the day, Batman. I'm afraid the Circus King is back. Like, we'll see. And of course, Max Shrek is still missing, and he's still kind of running. And I guess Penguin's been following him all along from down below. And he kind of falls for the opening down below, and they end up getting a hold of Max Shrek. And again, you see the zoo over here, Gotham Zoo. And again, when you listen to the score of this, and as well as the look of the zoo itself, it really, again, reminiscent of a Tim Burton film, similar to Edward Scissorhands. Again, if Edward Scissorhands were to make a cameo in this film, very much like this, or The Nightmare Before Christmas or whatnot, there's a lot of vibes of that in this film. And Max Shrek wakes up, and he's basically like in their hideout and everything. And you got all the gang members on a nice big table eating dinner. And then out of nowhere, a penguin just stands right next to him and just fucks with him. And some of these penguins in this scene are animatronic, and then some of them are CG, which is pretty cool. I don't know if there are any real ones, but I know it's a mixture of animatronic and CG. That I do know, thanks to Kevin Smith. I listened to Kevin Smith's commentary about this film. So I wish we could get some more Kevin Smith commentaries, man. Gotta love it, man. Love me some Kevin Smith. And in this scene right here, Oswald, Max Shrek is like, oh my gosh, it's true. The Penguin stories are true. Great makeup job, by the way, by the team. And this is definitely a darker take on Penguin. Very dark take. And at first doesn't seem that way. It seems like all he wants to do is basically find out who he is, find out who his parents are. But in actuality, he's actually very revenge fueled. I mean, his parents abandoned him because of the way he is, which he couldn't help. So one thing I really like about this film is the umbrellas. There's all sorts of different umbrellas that um with all sorts of different designs and stuff that make an appearance in this film. So I thought that was a nice touch. And he says it himself. He's like, "I'm ready, Max. I've been down here too long." He basically wants to make it to the surface. And he's like, "I wasn't born here or anything. Not where I'm from. I'm from the surface. It's like you." He's like, "I want some respect. I want a recognition of my basic humanity and find out who he is." And the drool, the makeup drool is pretty cool. Again, uh, it's Danny DeVito, but he's still scary as hell in this film in terms of the look and everything. So Max Shrek's like, "Why should I help you? And why am I helping you?" So it kind of starts slowly, feels it. "Hey, a batch of toxic waste from your clean textile plant. The whole crowd of this is back." Huh. So again, Penguin knows a lot about what's going on with Max and who Max really is and all that stuff, which is why they got him. So they know he's he wants control of the city and how much power he really has and blah. So of course they would go for Max Shrek, and of course they would create a character of Max Shrek for this film. Because they needed a harness for Penguin. So all of a sudden here you got Fred's hand was the guy that they were just talking about. So I guess that's why Penguin's going to help him, because it's basically like, hey, if I can get your old partner, I can get you. And of course, Selena. We cut to Selena Kyle, and she's home. He's like, "Oh, honey, I'm home." He's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm not married." But she does have cats, though. She does have cats, and they're really cute. And the first one you see is a black cat. I really like black cats. I mean, I like all cats, but I don't know. Maybe it's because of my neighbor, or not my neighbor. Excuse me, the stray cat that lives close to where I live, which was coincidentally giving me a lot of affection because he wanted inside. And again, my household, there's one person that's allergic, so couldn't bring the cat in as much as I wanted. But yeah, they're very self-sufficient, a lot less responsibility, and you can just focus on the good stuff. But at the same time, if the cat's not in the mood to be petted, well, then they're gonna give you the cold shoulder. It just depends on the cat. I've seen some cats, and I've been around some cats that are like literally like dogs that absolutely love to be petted, and they can pet it all night, and they love it, and they purr and everything. Doesn't matter if they're male or female; it just depends on the personality of the cat. So, and the thing is, I was always just a dog person, and then over the last, I don't know, handful of years, maybe more, I've really taken a liking to cats. I love cats. Most cats, at least. At the end of the day, they're animals, like any other animal. It's like you're either an animal person or you're not. If you're an animal person, chances are, I mean, sure, you may like one kind of animal more than the other, but chances are you'll like all animals. And Selena Kyle over here going over all of her messages, and then she realizes at the end that she kind of gave herself a little message like, "Hey, this is your self calling that you have to go all the way back to the office." And she's like, "Oh, so unless you meant, unless you forgot to, unless you remembered to bring home the Bruce Wayne file." So at this point, she's back in the office all by herself and looking over some of the files, and got a glimpse into some stuff that she wasn't supposed to know about. Um, and then Max Schreck over here wants to work with Bruce Wayne, or hopes to work with Bruce Wayne, because ultimately he is filthy rich after all. So it's like, you know, he needs an investment partner. Go figure. But we'll get more to that when get to that. And over here, she reveals that she knows got into her protected files because she found what the password was. And you're just looking at him, and he's just looking at her like, you know, like he definitely wants to kill her, which is kind of scary because with Christopher Walken, it's just different. So, and again with Max Schreck in this film or Christopher Walken, it's like sometimes you kind of like him, but most of the time you don't. And then at the other time, it's like, what's this guy gonna do? So, and this is an interesting little line right here. What did Curiosity do to the cat? And she's like, I'm not a cat. I'm just an assistant. But she's not a cat yet. She's going to. So she's gonna be one. So, and at this point, she knows too much. So the power plant thing is his legacy that he wants to leave behind for his son Chip. So and he doesn't want anything to stop that. So, and she's like, okay, go ahead, intimidate me, bully me if it makes you feel big. Not like you can just kill me. And he's like, it's actually a lot like that. And then for a few seconds, he messes with her like as in he was just kidding. So yeah, there was a little laugh, like, yeah, I'm not gonna do nothing. Turns around, and then he quickly turns back around and pushes her out the window. Which I'm sure a lot of people in the movie theater must have been like, oh crap. Kind of tricked the audience as well. And she went down a lot of stories, and basically that's it. And then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of stray cats just show up, and long story short, they pretty much bring her back from the dead. And ever since she's been back, hi Laura. And then ever since she's back, she's not quite herself, right? Like when she comes back as Catwoman, right? She comes back as Catwoman. Okay, cool. But like when she's Selena, she's kind of having a tough time being like the Selena that we just knew, and then it's like a completely different Selena. It's like it's almost as if Selena and Catwoman merged, like from the moment she comes back from the dead, not like quite herself. So, um, so yeah, that's what I see at least because you don't see the same Selena when she comes back that you saw previously. So, but at the same time, the guy did try to kill her, and then she came back. So it's like she's got every excuse. Like if she wants to be mean, or if she wants to be ruthless, or if she wants to be a bitch, or whatever you want to call it, she pretty much has every right to do so or to be so because um well because quite frankly tried to kill her. And it's like, you know, you're not really going to take that much shit anymore after a certain point in time, like if that were to happen to you, know what I mean? So it's just the way things are. So and then of course when she goes back in the apartment it's like, honey, oh, I forgot I'm not married. And then after she pretty much has a mental breakdown after she drinks a ton of milk over here that you see, and then going over her messages once, you know, the same routine that she always does. So it's like, and then she just completely loses it and trashes the apartment and does all the other stuff. So, great acting though, like great acting on Michelle Pfeiffer's part though. Like she's literally kind of all over the place, and rightfully so because of what just happened. So, um, so she actually plays it very well. She actually plays it very well. And again, the first thing to go is the phone, and then cats are coming in and like, what the hell's going on? And then of course you got the garbage disposal, of course, and the frying pan on the wall. I bet you Michelle Pfeiffer had a shit ton of fun in this scene to where she just got to destroy everything, like in the apartment. I bet you she had a ton of fun. And then the spray paint and everything. And of course, you see like so many different cats. You see the gray cats, you see the orange cats, and the black cats. You know, you definitely see cats. And then she's going into her closet and starts spray painting shit. And then she finds like this other looking type of jacket or whatever you want to call it, and like, yeah, I'll make something out of this. And then gets rid of the two of the letters on the wall that say hello there, and then it actually ends up spelling hell here. And then just starts like literally destroying everything in the apartment. And the thing is, I don't we don't see the apartment again after this scene. Like we really don't. Like it's like, can you imagine just being a get like just walking into our apartment and then it's like that messy and shit? It's like, or how long it take to clean up all that mess. But yeah, you start to see her she's putting in her costume together and all that kind of stuff. You see the sewing machine going and so, and of course the wire that attaches it. And it's like she conveniently has like all the equipment to put everything. Then of course you got the claws over there, metal claws that fit very well with that glove. All I know is that that would hurt like a motherfucker. And the thing is, you only see her from afar, like when you see her for the first time right there. But you do hear her, and it's like her Catwoman voice is like perfect. Michelle Pfeiffer is basically allowed to let out her inner slut in this completely, but it works. Again, it works for what the film offers in terms of what and within the script. And then you get this scene right here about this one guy making another speech about how crime needs to stop and blah blah blah. And it's all pretty much a setup at this for Penguin's emergence from down below, and people get stuff, and it's all a setup to where one of the clowns basically baby goes down, and then it makes it look like Penguin rescued the baby, right, making him look all good. Kind of a corny scene in a sense, but it's all good. A little bit of gymnastics from the clown. He goes right down in the sewer. Go figure. But it's so funny. It's like they believe that Penguin is the hero already. It's like, hey, how did you know? Maybe you set this up. But and then at the same time, it's like, how did he emerge from down below? Right? Didn't he have to climb something? It's like whatever. It's lazy script writing, as I like to put it. Just lazy writing, but it's fine. I mean, back in I don't know. I don't want to make I grew up in the '90s. And people were very, 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 very into. But it's like I'm sure a lot of adults when they were watching this film in the theaters were like, yeah, that's like so believable, so corny, just kidding. But hey, it's a Batman film, it's a fantasy film, so we'll just let it go. We'll just let it go. It's not meant to be anything. I mean, we're talking about a guy in a bat here, so it's like, why would we, you know? And isn't it like obvious that Max Shrek is like right there and is kind of helping set up all this shit? And of course, you see the giant fireplace, and then you see Bruce Wayne. Basically, he's watching this, and he kind of, to a certain degree, of course, at first he's like thinking about everything that Penguin's saying, and he's like, I just want to find my mom and dad, and I want to know why they did what they did with me to where they abandoned and all that kind of stuff. So kind of kind of the reverse of what happened with Bruce, but either way, the result was the same. Of being like he kind of like when you look at him, it kind of just shows a little bit of empathy in this scene. And he even says it. He's like, I hope he finds him. And it seemingly looks innocent and everything. But of course, Batman being Batman, Bruce Wayne being Bruce Wayne, you get one more little glimpse of his face before we cut into the next scene. Is like, he's watching, but at the same time, he's still thinking, right? He's still thinking like Batman. It's like at the same time, it's like, hey, this could all be a setup. At least that's what that tells me. So, and it isn't long. It's as a matter of fact, in this next scene coming up over here after Max Shrek, talks to the press for a few seconds here. You know very quickly that he's up to something, but you don't know what he's up to just yet. But he's up to something, and he's looking at kids' fingerprints and footprints, whatever. So, and then he's got the eyeglass on the one on the side, of course, and he's got the feather pen again. He's got that penguin look, of course. And then Danny DeVito's just doing really good with how Penguin sounds and everything. So he's busy, so he's up to something. So it's like, what are you doing? It makes the audience think a little bit. And of course, we cut to the scene where where Bruce is in the Batcave, and he's wearing, of course, the black turtleneck. It's a different turtleneck than the first one, but black turtleneck. Is it even a turtleneck? I gotta get a closer look at it. Not sure. Wait until this angle kind of disappears, but oh, cold soup. He's like, fishy swish, sir. It's supposed to be cold. So, and at this point, yeah, I guess you can say it's kind of turtleneck. I guess not close to it. But yeah, he's doing his research. He's got his thinking cap on because something just doesn't make sense. Something doesn't fit in. And of course, you got the glasses. Bruce Wayne doesn't need glasses, but wears them in the movies. And then in the next scene, of course, he's going on patrol at patrol Batmobile, which is pretty cool. on a quiet night in Gotham. Probably really, really late too. Probably like really late. And then Alfred's doing some ironing, and he's talking to Bruce, and he's like, "Are you sure about the strange heroic penguin person?" Like, I think he knows who his parents are, but there's something else going on. Like, he knows who his parents are, but there's just something else. Something doesn't match. So, and Penguin is up really, really late, and he's able to see him through the window, and all he's doing is writing. So he just come by. He doesn't know. Doesn't seem to be anything wrong. So, and now you got the press and everything like that. So of course, Penguin finds out that maybe he already knew, but obviously it's just a front. And if you look really closely in this scene here, one of the tombstones like kind of moved. What's up, Greg? Oh, Greg, how are you? Greg or Craig, how are you, man? Yeah, and in this scene right here, when he walks by the one tomb, like he bumps into it a little bit and it just moves. So it just shows you that it's like couldn't they reshoot it? It's like he touched it and it moved, and it's it was you know. I mean, obviously it's fake, but still. Good acting over here. It actually looks like the penguin like just found out that his parents died and he's sad about it. So, and of course you got the music and the score in the background that supports this. So, um, and I don't know how tall Danny DeVito is. Maybe he's like 4'11". No, maybe he's just 5'2". I don't know, but I really like how they use like the different camera angles and stuff like that to make him look that much bigger. You really don't see too many angles to where he's like standing directly next to somebody, like at least at a close distance to so that way he doesn't look that small. So at this point, he doesn't want to be called Penguin anymore. He's like, "I'm a man. I've got a name." He's like, "My name is Oswald Cobblepot." And the Cobblepots are rich. That's another thing. Like they're right up there with the Waynes, but just not nice like the Waynes. And Greg or Craig, are you where are you from? Are you from like overseas or are you here in the States? Because yesterday I had a visitor as well, but he's from overseas. So obviously right now they would be like 5 hours ahead, at least 5 to 7 hours ahead. So, which would make sense because everybody here in the States is asleep except for me. 3:47 a.m. here where I'm at, so it would be 8:47, like for instance in the UK or maybe other parts of Europe, a couple hours ahead. So, kind of curious. And in this scene right here, this poor woman is getting mugged by this dude, and then like the first action scene, aka Catwoman, and we get a a better look at her for the. And I'm glad you can actually see that it's Michelle Pfeiffer doing it. And then of course you got the little scratchy going on, which is great. Knocks the guy out. She says that she's Catwoman. Hear her roar. Even though, well, you want to hear her meow. She's a Catwoman. And some gymnastics. You can't have Catwoman without gymnastics. And over here we cut to Bruce Wayne entering the Shrek building. This is where he's gonna have his little Shrek. And the thing about Bruce Wayne is he's just walking around everywhere as if he wasn't, as if nobody knew who he was. And go figure, it's a Wayne, man. It's the Prince of Gotham. It's celebrity world and stuff. In this film, that aspect of the billionaire playboy is not visible at all. I can Like, it kind of sucks that they never really showed that with the kids, to be honest. But at the same time, I guess the director and the scriptwriter, which again doesn't surprise me. And at this point right now, he's, Bruce is curious about Shrek. He's like, "What's your angle?" And he's like, "Well, one can never have too much power." So, um, and at this point, he is already suspecting that Cobblepot, crime boss. So, and at this point, he already knows that Oswald controls the Triangle Gang, but he can't prove it yet. So it's like really very similar to Pattinson's Batman, to where a sense to where Batman and Bruce Wayne are really no different, like no different at all. And then you can clearly see that Bruce has got a crush on Catwoman immediately, or he's got a crush on Selina immediately. So, um, so he's like fascinated with her, and Shrek is just completely like shocked because she survived. Like, this is the best acting that you see from Christopher Walken, and she actually kind of goes to have this amnesia type of thing, where she can't really remember everything and stuff like that. Which, and then she's like, "Did you injure yourself on this slope?" Like, is that what cut your vacation short? And she's like, it's a blur. I don't remember. Which she obviously does, but and then she's talking about amnesia and talking about her uh talking about something, and it's like a high school story or what. But like, even last night, complete blur. Like, she doesn't remember anything. And Max Shrek has just got that confused look on his face, and at the same time, he's also kind of okay. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't remember anything, and she's just acting kind of normal or whatnot. A little different, but normal, because Catwoman. And then she looked right at him with a little smile on her face or smirk or whatnot, and basically, maybe she's faking it. So it's funny. She tells Bruce, she's like, "You don't seem like the type of guy that does business with Mr. Shrek," and he's like, "You don't seem like the type of person to take orders from him." And again, Shrek's son is like, "Do you buy that?" And she's like, "Nothing surprises me except your late mother." And she's like, "Who would have thought that Selina had a brain to damage?" So at this point, when he's like, hey, "If she messes with me, I'll drop her out of a higher window. But until then, I got other things to worry about." So at this point, he buys the fact that she's got brain damage. So that's all. That's all Selina needed, really. And Penguin, all you see do for the most part is just write left and right, just writing. And at this point, Shrek just wants to make him. He's like really busy doing his writing and stuff like that, and he's like, but Shrek wants him to, and convinces him to be mayor. But before then, he kind of bribes him with a snack. So, and I don't know what the hell, whatever that is, it's made out of. Like, it looks like a fish, raw fish or whatnot, but um, in which he can smell it, and he's like all about it. He's like, yummy. And I'm sure in this scene it's like a real fish, but then when in the scene where you see eating it and stuff like that, it's like makes you wonder. It's like, what is it? Like I was told by like a friend of mine that it's like they made you know they made the fish that looks real as hell. They made it look like it's actually candy that he's eating. Like I don't know, but Danny DeVito doesn't eat sugar as far as I know, because usually, well, it could be sugar or sugar substitute. And everybody's just clapping for him, even though he's eating this raw fish, and they're just looking at him and they're just like clapping. And they want him to be mayor. But Oswald knows everything that's going on. He's like, elections happen in November. This is late December right now. Like, don't worry about it. Max Shrek, do anything. And then these two guys over here, reclaim your birthright. Oh yeah, his dad basically smoke, but he's not all about it. But in the comics and in the graphic novels, Penguin does smoke, right? Or am I wrong? He does smoke. Like, but at this point, he Penguin just likes this woman quite a bit right here, and even says even says at one point that he wants to fill her void. I thought that was a hilarious. So, and the guy kind of makes fun of Oswald a little bit, and so far he's going with it and just laughing, and he's like, "Hold still, it could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood." And he's start just cracking up. And he's like, "What do you mean your nose could what?" And then he just bites the guy in the nose, and then yeah, good effect of biting the guy's nose. Like, let's make a mirror, but yeah, Penguin just bit that guy's blood all over his lips and shit. That's hilarious. He's like Oswald Cobblepot filling the void, and he's like, "I'd love to fill her void," and he's got that evil look in his eye. And I can't get over the nose. Like if you watch when you watch this movie and then you see the penguin's nose, if you get a glimpse, if you just, I can't stop looking at it. As funny as it seems, it's like nose. And at this point, he's fantasizing about being mayor. And at this point, he wants to use the Triangle Gang in order to create space for him to become the new. Like, sounds fun, but I got to get back to work. And he's still thinking about his original plan. It's like I can't get sidetracked. Got my own things. Your chance to fulfill a destiny that your parents destroyed. So, so at this point, claim his birth. It's like unlimited poontang. So in other words, unlimited pussy. He's like, you drive a hard bargain. He's like, fine, I'll be mayor. Because that's one thing he definitely wants. He definitely wants some of that poontang. And I can't believe they actually used that in this. They actually used that word in this film. Unlimited poontang. Hilarious. And of course, you got the Triangle Gang kind of blowing shit up, and which kind of pretty much causes Batman to show up and have a fight scene, stuff like that. And again, we've only seen Batman, I think, once in the film, barely twice, hardly seen. Like, and it's been nearly an hour into the film, and we've probably seen Batman for maybe like. And from the Batman commentary that I did, I think last night or the night before, I'll tell you, if we were 54 minutes in, we've seen Robert Pattinson for at least 30 of them. Pretty crazy. And then of course this is not Michael Keaton doing Michael actually somebody else, and they're doing good, doing a good job at it. And of course, when you got the cape going on, it makes it a lot more difficult, but makes it happen. But that's another thing with suspension of disbelief. Batman's got that cape going on, and yet he's still an effective fighter. It's like in a real situation, it's like that cape is really going to get in the way. So, and then in this scene right here, you got that little the Batarang, a new kind of like a new bat toy that basically locks onto targets and takes. And of course, the little puppy, even though the little puppy could barely jump that high, just ended up taking the Batarang. And slapping people in the face with a sword instead of killing them. It's okay. Even though he kind of kills somebody purposely in an upcoming scene. And then you get this scene over here with Catwoman using her whip that basically takes the heads off of mannequins, which I guess is kind of cool. But again, just some more screen time with the cat, I guess. So, and then, of course, two security guards show up and they're armed. And she ends up disarming them with her whip from about 20 feet away, maybe 25. And their take homes are less than 300. Go figure. Like, you're overpaid, hit the road. And they just wait. And then, of course, here's the scene where Batman kills again. Walking towards the screen and around the corner, boom, takes one guy out, just punches him and throws him out. And then there's the big dude. It's like, go ahead, hit me. And he hits him and doesn't do much. But Batman's got dynamite in his hand and all of a sudden looks down and lights up the dynamite right there and smiles at him and then throws him through. Throws him down this steps and then boom, blows up. Yeah, so Batman literally killed somebody just there and purposely, which is very much against the comics or source material. But even I didn't know that when I first saw this film. Matter of fact, I wouldn't know it until much later. Catwoman wants to blow up this building. Rex, obviously. And then, of course, we get our first interaction between Penguin and Batman. And again, when you look at the angles of everything, it's like they're not too close to each other because, again, you don't want the Penguin to look too small or too short because of Danny DeVito's height and everything. They kind of minimize that. But the thing is, Michael Keaton's not that tall either. So he's telling him, he's like, "You're not the mayor," and he's like, "Things." I mean, and the thing is, a lot of fans really like this Michael Keaton bat costume, and Jan just I wasn't too crazy about it. And he kind of smirks. And there comes Catwoman getting out of Shrek's building over here, and she actually meows. And then we get Boom Boom. Bottom part of Shrek's just blows up for obvious reasons. You know, she's wanting all the payback that she can get against Shrek, and of course, she could actually climb walls as well, which is kind of interesting. And of course, we get the fancy umbrella that can actually fly, which is and again, this is the '90s, so again, it's a little cheap, but it looks pretty good. Obviously, you can tell it just goes up in a straight line. But the concept of having all the different umbrellas that can do all sorts of different shit is a cool concept, though. Like, whether you're a kid or an adult, you're like, yeah, that's some pretty cool stuff. And then we get a little fight scene over here between Batman and Catwoman, and he's basically on the defensive, and she's just like super aggressive and, you know, gets the best of him a few times, gets a few really good hits in, and then he finally has enough, and he hits her, and she hits the ground. Then she's and very cleverly she's like, "How could you? I'm a woman." And then he's like, "I'm sorry." So again, not very much, not very much Batman-esque. I mean, like if you were to follow the comics 100%, like Batman wouldn't have been sorry. He just would have, "How could you? I'm a woman." It's like he would have just. Actually, if it was accurate to the comics, I don't think Batman would. Could be wrong. You know, she is a formidable opponent, but that's just my opinion. She did what and what take the fight scene with Batman. What did she do in one take? Because there were cuts. I mean, well, she did it in one scene, but it was okay, and then they ended up cutting it. So it doesn't mean that she didn't do it in one take. So okay, I see what. Oh, the mannequin scene, the one with the okay, where she took off the heads. Basically stabs Batman at this point, which proves that the suit is rubber except for that one little spot. So it's like, and then he knocks her off the building. Like, why wouldn't the suit be armor like in the first film? Again, just, oh, I know I'm being like a little strict on this, but it's like, come on, bro. And then he meows. Now at this point, Mayor Cobblepot is all about being Mayor Cobblepot, and he's enjoying being mayor, trying to be the mayor of the people, but he's actually a criminal. I think Josh Brolin is in. That's him. And then we get a little bit more of like, oh, Mr. Gobble, you're the biggest inspiration a young person has. Like, you're the hottest young person a model could have. He's like, here, wear a button. And he just, I like his facial expressions in this scene. He's like, get it on there, you know. And then you've got the hat. Like his entire wardrobe in this is actually pretty cool. Like when he's in full outfit like this, to where he's like, I can get into this mayor stuff. It's all about touching people and groping people. He's like, it's my name's not Penguin, it's Oswald Cobblepot. And of course, Catwoman is up there already, just lying down on his bed waiting for him. He's like, ooh, just the pussy I've been looking for. So at this point, Catwoman just wants to like team up with him and get rid of Batman, embarrass Batman. I mean, of course, she's got her black cat, and her whip. Every time I see a black cat on screen, it reminds me of the neighbor cat that lives in. Every time, without fail. And look at that, and look at Penguin over here just with that nose. And he's thinking about getting laid at this point. Like, wait a minute, scented or unscented? And then at this point, they're like, "Don't worry about Batman. He's already history. We're gonna take his Batmobile and turn it into an H bomb on wheels." So, and she's like, "We need to turn him into what he hates the most." Um, and then she's looking at that list, like, not even office yet, and you already have it. And we don't know anything about that list just yet, but about the firstborn sons of Gotham and go after. And this scene coming up with the bird in her mouth, from what I understand, she actually did put the bird in her mouth, like a live bird in her mouth. You know, it wasn't for too long, but like, you know, she put it in her mouth, and then of course there was a scene where she, you know, opened her mouth and it flew out. Real bird. Well, in terms of maybe not this part right here where she puts it in her mouth, but like when she opens her mouth to let it out, like, you know, from that cut, it was real, obviously. And then Penguin over, since he's about to threaten her cat, and yeah, lets the cat go. I swear, man, that makeup job on Penguin is really good. And then there's just so many different weird stuff in this. I'm telling you, this film also has a lot of weird. She starts giving herself a bath. And it doesn't make sense, Mr. Oswald. Cats don't fuck penguins, or vice versa. I swear, if I ever see a cat fucking a penguin, that'll be a sight. I'm telling you, that shit just doesn't happen. That's like seeing a lion fighting a tuna in water. Doesn't happen. Which, by the way, bears more proof indeed that it's that lions really are cats, because cats don't like water, and therefore lions don't like water either. So yeah, definitely cat. And again, Bruce Wayne is out there in public and he's not being swarmed by like all these press and stuff like that. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, if you're a billionaire, that in and of itself basically makes you like, you know, it's like you can't go out in public like that, just like there's nothing going on. Ugh. They totally ignored the billionaire playboy aspect of the character. I'm telling you, kind of heartbreaking in this film, unfortunately, because like Bruce in this film, like when you look at Batman overall in this, he's kind of lightened up a little bit since the first film, right? He's very much lightened up, because when you look at him in the first film compared to this one, you know, it's obviously because of Selina, but ultimately, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, like, just a little bit lighter, and Like he's not as hardcore, he's not as ruthless as he was in the first film. Like in the first film, you'd be scared shitless of him, and in this film, he's not as scary. I mean, obviously, people know he's a good guy now, and obviously, the bad guys. It's like, he doesn't scare the bad guys like he used. It was like that was one thing that I felt was missing from the fact that that element wasn't. It just wasn't. I think that was the part that was missing. Like because ultimately, what is Batman? Right? He's an element of, he's a good guy, but what does he use? He used your criminals and stuff like that, and there was an element of that was gone in it. And then at this point, you get the scene. Oh, by the way, before this movie took place, these guys, Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer, were actually dating and then ended up breaking up. But obviously, they got this role afterwards. But like they used to date and then they broke up. And now they're talking about Vicky Vale from the first film, which um I guess he just couldn't handle him being Batman or something like that. I don't know. I actually once started writing a script for what my interpretation of Batman Returns would have been. And it would have taken place. Well, first of all, my interpretation was that the Joker would have survived. Batman wouldn't know, but the Joker would have survived the first film. And, everybody thought he was dead, but he actually ended up surviving. And, Vicky was basically waiting Bruce to come home that day, and uh, she finds some really cool stuff in the Batcave. And the thing is, like, she, he doesn't go like into his room right away. Goes back to the Batcave and he hangs out there because he was wounded, and he's basically nursing his wounds. And then Vicky Vale comes in and she helps nurse his wounds, and she finds out a few more things about him and his motivation behind being. So that was kind of my script. I actually took screenshots of it because I did it during some downtime at work, and I couldn't print it or anything because the printer was like on the other side and I was using a different computer. But I've got some screenshots of it that I did on my phone, and but my version of Batman Returns would have taken place immediately, right? Like the events would have happened. Like the very last scene of the first Batman film was before they cut to black and to credits. What was it? It was Batman on top of the tallest building, looking at the bat symbol at the top of the sky, right? And then that was it. The movie was over. Well, the beginning of my script took place starting at that moment. Like you would see Batman looking at that and looking at the logo, and then eventually he would just drop down, get back in the Batmobile, and go back home. So, and then it went from there. So, but during that time, you would also know how Joker survived, and yeah. And then there was a scene that I had written to where, where he kind of punishes his men. He basically makes them play a very fucked up version of Russian roulette, and whoever survived survived, and whoever didn't. Um, a very interesting take on Russian roulette, so to speak. So that was part of my script. I mean, it was right. It was writing itself. It even took some inspiration from the Arkham Knight game because there was a trailer, like when Arkham Knight was first announced. Um, there was a trailer, and it basically was about the father to son. It was basically about Thomas Wayne's will and letter to Bruce. And guess what? That letter was in the film. Was in my script, and Vicky Vale found that letter. Like, and while she reads it in my script, there would be a flashback to where you see Thomas writing this letter, and you would hear him, reading it, and then it kind of fades back to Vicky, and then she looks back at Bruce, and she's like, she kind of has an understanding. So that was the direction where I was taking Batman Returns in my. I don't even know if I would have called it Batman Returns. I would have probably called it Batman Chapter 2 or something. I don't think that I don't remember. I don't. I have to look at my phone and look back at it because I I don't know if I kept the title the same or not. I don't. But that was my interpretation for it. Would take place right after this. And in this scene right here, and we skipped a bunch of what happened with that, but if you're watching, you very much know. The thing is, ultimately, Batman in this time, he's got multiple suits, which is great, but they're all fucking rubber, man. Sucks. They're all rubber. But the Batmobile, though, seems to be harder than the first one. It looks even more metal than the first one, so it's like, okay, you've upgraded that. So it's like, what? Why did we turn the suit into rubber? I mean, we know the suit's rubber, but it's supposed to seem like it's heavy duty suit and shit. But oh well, that's just me kind of nitpicking, I guess. But um, but yeah, maybe at some point I'll continue to write it. I think I eventually will. Who knows? Maybe at some point I'll write it, and then I might do like a stream to where I actually maybe read the script to whoever wants to listen. I don't know, or make a video about it or something like that. I might do that if I get to finishing it. But the script itself though was it was amazing how it was writing itself. Really, I was just picturing it all in my head, and it was like right there. It's like I was watching the movie in my head, and I would see it, and it would look very similar to the first film, like in terms of the color palette and the tone and everything like that. It would look very similar to the first film. And I also had it in the works to where Harvey Dent would play a much bigger role. And yes, Billy D. Williams would play Harvey. Of course, he was surprising as well. And you would see him turn into Two Face. So it would be kind of like by the end of the film, I was thinking about like, okay, we were able to best Joker, and we were able to put Joker away in Arkham Asylum, which the film would actually show Arkham Asylum in my script. But conversely, though, at the very end, Harvey would, Two Face would be born. So that's what that would be about too. So it would be like a Joker Chapter 2 thing, but then at the end of the day, Harvey, like, even though you got Joker, it's like Harvey ended up turning into, and then Two Face would have been the main villain in the third film. That's how I would have done. And Vicky Vale would have still been the main woman in the. And I was kind of going back and forth on whether or not they would break up by the end of the second film. Don't know. Or maybe you just keep her for the trilogy. That's another thing that I was thinking. Because introducing Catwoman would have been a little too much. And then over here, Penguin manages to frame Batman by having an umbrella that's got a few bats in there, and she causes this girl to kind of fall off the roof, and Batman doesn't get there in time. And again, if this was more accurate to the comics, guess what? Batman would have dove down there and like, not enough Batman. That's one of the things that Batman Forever got right. Like, if somebody was falling off the building, Batman would have dove down there and saved them. But again, that just goes to show you that this Batman is, again, not that kind of Batman. Not it's Batman, but it's not tied in 100% to the comics. Inspired by the comics, but again, it's a different take. And this is the mistletoe scene. And she literally like licks his face, and she reveals to him that she's already died twice, so she's got seven lives left. So that's the supernatural thing about her character, is the fact that she's got multiple lives. Like, she can die multiple times And it's really funny. He's telling her, he's like, I tried to save you. And he's like, every woman you save ends up dead. He's like, maybe you should retire. And then, of course, she stabs him once again. And again, this was in the upper chest. And then you see this really cool effect here with Batman's wings, which was like really cool. Obviously, CG in that part where his wings kind of open up and then turns around over here, looks real. So, and then from the distance, it actually looks like a giant bat flying with the rest. And how did all those bats just appear over there? Was it from the, I don't know. And Penguin's Triangle Gang somehow that had the technology to unlock the Batmobile to go in there and to make all the change stuff. It is what it is. But they do make a good job of making the Batmobile indestructible in the, because it goes through a lot of punishment by going through a whole bunch of shit. So it's like got that going on. So it's like, okay, the Batmobile is some really hardcore. And then at this point, Penguin wants to kind of uh, consummate a union, as he puts it, with Catwoman. So like, what the hell are you talking about? And then there's even a ring that he gave her just now, and she's looking at him like, what the hell? And he's got this fantasy. And she's like, nope, I'm not touching you. I wouldn't even touch you to scratch you. And then at this point, he basically takes away one of her lives using one of his umbrellas. And Catwoman, being Catwoman, ends up surviving. She ends up having lives left. And it was all because she refused to sleep with him. And again, she's Catwoman, so she ends up surviving that. She screams so loud that all the freaking glass just shatters. Batsy Boy makes it back to his Batmobile, but he has absolutely no idea what's about to happen. Where it's about to be used like a toy by the Penguin. And there's literally a little miniature toy Batmobile inside Penguin's trailer, which is hilarious. And again, it just goes to show you that they just absolutely love just promoting the hell out of stuff, so that way they can sell more toys and shit. At the end of the day, that is what it's about. And at this point, Batman is wanted because they think he killed the Ice Princess. But at this point, Oswald has complete control over Batman's Batmobile. And, you know, Batman's basically going like, what the hell? So Penguin's running people over. Batman can't control it. And not much he can do. But there's just one device on the bottom that lets Penguin do all that. So once Batman finds it, it's over. But it doesn't find it until the last minute. But at least we got it. Like, at least we got a scene with the Batmobile that it's not just used just to drive from one place to another. It's like, okay, we actually get a scene to where, oh, the Batmobile just kind of is in the villain's control and it starts like causing havoc and everybody thinks it's Batman. And he's got a CD player in the car as well. Pretty cool. Again, in the 90s, that was very uncommon among cars in 19. But puts a disc in and he manages to record stuff, so that's what counts. And he used that, so head. And the Batmobile, despite the fact that it gets in so many accidents in this, like not a scratch on it, which just goes to show you how hardcore the Batmobile really is. Like how tough that car really. At least that's what you're trying to show it as. And yes, this is my favorite iteration of the Batmobile. The classic Batmobile will always be my Well, actually, technically speaking, I can't say that because there's more Batmobiles that we're going to see in the future. But so far to this day, it's my favorite iteration of the Batmobile. And I personally think that the outside shouldn't even be changed. You can make the technology on the inside of the car better, but other than that, and what the car can do, but other than that, leave it. Like in terms of the way it looks. So it's like, yep, Batmobile base tells them that there's a foreign object, and somehow Batman is strong enough to punch right through the metal of the Batmobile. Uh oh. Poor lady's about to get run over, but Batman basically takes that out, and he's actually Batmobile. Thankfully, it's got good brakes. And now Penguin just basically gets pissed off because he doesn't have control of Batmobile anymore. Starts screaming like a child, I guess. And of course, Batman doesn't want to hear that, so he punches his. And then there's a really cool effect over here where Batman can pretty much jettison the parts of his Batmobile to make it thinner so it can fit in some really like not so wide areas. Like wow, it's a cool effect, especially when you saw it when you saw it in like previews and stuff like that on TV. Pretty cool. Um, yeah, thin as a pencil and it right through there. And the cops can't chase him. And at this point, yep, Batman makes it out. It's like don't people ever realize that maybe this guy's Bruce Wayne? Because look at where Bruce lives. He's think about it. All this gear costs so much money, and it's again, it's if you can believe that, you know, if you can't tell that Clark Kent is Superman, obviously, then obviously tell that Bruce. I get it. I get it. And Oswald Cobblepot over here is pissed that basically Batman got away with everything without like not even losing a limb or an eyeball. And then over here at this point, Penguin starts making a speech or whatnot. People love him, blah blah blah. And middle of all this, he's got control of the crowd and everything. It's great, but then Batman actually manages to hack the signal, to broadcast and play the audio from the disc that he was recording during the time when he Batmobile. So he kind of uses that against So because Batman is made to look like the bad guy again. So can't take the Batmobile to any Joe's body shop. So and then a little reference to the first film, he's like, "Hey, who let Baby Gail in the Batcave? I'm just sitting there working, and I turn around, oh, there she is. Oh, hi, Vic, come on in." So basically telling Alfred like you should let Vicky. And Bruce basically takes a really cool statue down via slide into the Batcave, cool, which he activates by the fish tank. Alfred's like, "Yep, I think I'll take the stairs," but he gets there, and then we see another part of the cave to where Bruce has like some really cool gadgets in this area, and of course we see Alfred helping him, which is nice. So it's like he's a hell of a lot more than just a butler. Of course, Alfred's always been more than a butler. I've mentioned this multiple times in all the different comms that I've done for these films. So nice to see Michael go kind of get his put his hands to work, so to speak. Help Batman do what Batman does. So, yep, they managed to hack in. Go jammed. Of course, he's got the disc. Alfred's ready for it, and I thought this scene was and of course, the audience believes it. They don't care that his lips aren't moving. hear that they just hear that it's him and it sounds like him, and everybody's like, "What the hell?" Like I didn't say that, and then everybody's like, "Where's that sound coming from?" And plays more, and he's like, starts repeating a lot of the stuff that he said to Bruce in the Batmobile, and then everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's, you know, this guy is actually not good. We don't." And a little bit of DJ action for Bruce, and the crowd hates Oswald, and yep, Batman and Alfred are happy about it. Payback's a bitch. And then the next thing you know, he's starting to get fruit and vegetables. Even Max Shrek abandons him. So when they're going to start throwing stuff, yep, there it is. And it's always tomatoes, and it's always groceries. And then he gets the umbrella out, but the other end of that umbrella is what? Assault rifle. And he even asks that question. He's like, "Why is it that everybody always brings eggs and tomatoes to us?" Somehow he manages to outrun everybody, including the cops and everything. And even the cops take a few shots at him and they can't hit him because for whatever reason, cops shoot like stormtroopers in movies like this. And just like the beginning of the film, he jumps off that bridge right there. Well, he didn't jump off the bridge. Everything's come full circle, and he's back to his home, I guess, at the giant yellow duck. And he basically accepts the fact that he's like, "No, Oswald, I'm a penguin. I'm not a human. I'm an animal." So he's like, "Crank the AC. Where's the list?" And they start going after the Sons of Gotham City, which was the plan in the first place. Yeah, but at this point, Penguin is viewed for the first time as the bad guy, which he rightfully is. One of his men's like, "Great speech, Oswald," and just hits him with the umbrella. I think that. Like, I'm a cold blooded animal. And at this point, Penguin plans to all of his gang members over here. Like, just like me, a terrible fate's gonna wait for these children. He's like, we're gonna snatch these kids, carry them into the store, and toss them into a deep, dark water. And then one of his guys is like, "Isn't that a little you know?" Penguin ends up shooting. But even if you look at some of his other men, direct behind him in the clown suit, like, I may not fully agree. Rolls him right in the water. And his mannerisms are great, by the way. Danny DeVito's mannerisms. And Shrek's got a party going on, and an invitation has been sent to Bruce Wayne, and he's not interested. And then at the last minute, he tells Alfred that, "Wait a minute, Selina." So she's the only reason why he's going to that party. And the funny thing is, there's kind of a little bit of something here. In that party, everybody's wearing a costume, right? Except Bruce and Selina, because they're Batman and Catwoman, but Batman and Catwoman is who they really are, and Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne is actually the disguise, which makes sense, right? Because ever since his parents were killed, you know, Bruce Wayne was. Some people would even say that Bruce Wayne died right there with his parents, and then ever since then, it's pretty much been Batman. So, who we see in the suit is who he really is, and Bruce Wayne is the illusion. So, and then Selena ends up coming in. Oh, so far she's not there, but she ends up making it. And again, she's one of the two people that is not wearing a costume. So that's kind of interesting as hell. Like these guys are still wearing costumes even though they're not. Again, very very interesting. This ball, this party, and in the middle of this scene, discover that simply by a few words that are repeated. She repeats his words when he was in the suit, and she repeats her words when she was in the suit, and that's how they find out that they know their identities now. They know that he's Bat. She knows that he's Batman, and he knows that she's Catwoman. And that's funny. They're kind of giving it away. She's like, "Yeah, I guess I'm tired of wearing masks," and he's like, "Yeah, me too." And she reveals that she wants to get rid of Max because she came to the party to see him because she wants to sneaks in a gun in the dress, shows him, and then at this point she's, "Don't give me the speech about getting rid of the guys." And then he asks her a question: "Who the hell do you think you are?" And then she really doesn't know, because she's a mess ever since she got pushed off that window. She hasn't been the same, so she doesn't know. And mistletoe could be deadly if you eat it, and right then and there, Catwoman is like, "Oh, oh shit, we have to start fighting," and he's like, "Let's go outside." Now the question is, did he say let's go outside because of that, or because of maybe he's? But I don't think so. Coming, and then a bomb goes off, and bam, Penguin pretty much crashed. A couple of bodies went flying all over the place, and some people got hurt, but thankfully it doesn't seem like anybody got killed. And again, in that very scene, for a split second there, it's like, father and the son, Max Shrek and his kid. It's like they're. It's like that's the only, like, you could just tell the character of Max Shrek. The only thing he truly cares about is his son, and Penguin is telling his plans to everybody. He's like, "Yeah, my troops are fanning out across town right now for your children. Their firstborn sons, the ones you left that are defenseless at home, so you could dress up like jerk, get juiced, and dance badly." And then you got the first appearance by a couple of the armed penguins, the ones that have missiles, armor, and. But at this point, he came there for Chip Shrek, and then Max basically, "Yo, take me instead." Like, I don't have any human feelings, so no. He's like, I'm the one you want to ask yourself. It's like it's Max who manipulated and betrayed you, not Chip. And yeah, it just goes to show you, man. Like Max literally put his ass on the line now. Kid goes to show you, even somebody as ruthless or as power hungry as Max, again, even he one thing. And they go right back to the sewers. It's actually funny how nobody thought like, hey, let's get a few cops or security guys to follow these guys. Then Penguin, of course, telling Max plan, and then of course you got uh, another fancy umbrella. I wonder if those umbrellas are really expensive. Then of course you get the scene over here where the Triangle Gang like kidnaps the kids, but they really don't make it very far. They don't get out of there at all. Actually, they completely fail because Batman stops them, but you don't see any of it, which sucks. I mean, you just see Batman, take out the one guy out of nowhere, you know, the driver, and then that's it. That's all you see. Like they could have done an entire action scene or whatnot with there, but it was just completely wasted. Again, just goes to show you, it's like that was like a wasted opportunity for a hell of an action. Like in terms of Batman, it's like there was a lot missing from this in terms of Batman. I mean, that's I would probably say looking at it, looking back at it now, all these years later, older compared to when I was a kid. Like, yeah, that's what was missing. Much Batman action, really. And then he wrote a letter to Penguin, telling him that the kid's able to. And then, of course, Penguin didn't get his way, so he screams again and makes a little speech to his penguins that are basically armed to the teeth with missiles and armor. And it's like, where did that come from? Where did all those missiles and armor come from? And then he's even telling the penguins, like, many of you won't be coming back thanks to Batman. So Danny DeVito pretty much lets it rip in this scene from now on. It's like out of control penguin, so to speak, in this entire scene. And I don't know how many penguins there are. Well, at least how many penguins are. A lot of them basically jump right in the water and they're all going to march. They're all going to march to Gotham because they want to let the missiles loose. So, and then you get a cool new Batmobile. Like I mean, a bat thing. I mean, what is that? Like a bat submarine or a bat? I don't know what the hell that is, but moving was pretty quick. But all I know is that that toy must have sold a shit ton. I thought it was pretty cool, but I had no idea what the hell it was. Might have to Google it. And at an hour and 44 minutes out of the, we basically have like about 22 minutes left in this film. So it's like, you got the penguins invading the middle of Gotham with, you know, They start crowding all over the place, and it's like, is it really that late in Gotham to where there's nobody on the street? Like, how convenient is that? It's like, where are the cops? And Gotham also looks like a clean place as opposed to not. When you look at the first film, you definitely see a lot of the dirty places of Gotham, and then every single time you see Gotham here in this movie, it's like everywhere you see it's pretty damn clean. It almost doesn't seem like Gotham. And Batman over here dodges 2 missiles. Pretty cool. Like barely dodges 2. Little penguins are so cute. Some of those smaller penguins are so cute. Penguin eating more fish, raw fish, but again, it's probably candy. If not candy, it's something else. And basically, these guys are ready. We got a countdown of 15 seconds before fire. And then Alfred and Bruce are planning to use the same frequency that they did get the broadcast for Penguin's voice for these guys here in order to turn them around. Again, they jam the frequency, and basically all the penguins start going backwards. And this is obvious of film school, basically, to where they take the previous shot and they just rewind it. They go in reverse and basically backtrack from there in certain, opposed to just the hard way. And basically, at this point, the penguins are going to be heading back home to the point of origin, which is what Batman's going after. So cute. I love penguins. And then you got Shrek over here who's trying to communicate with the monkey so that way he can get the key. And at this point, Penguin doesn't know what to do. And it's already been said that it's already been announced that Batman's on his way in there. So Penguin just looking and just stirring. And then, of course, all of Penguin's bad guys that are with him start to slowly get the hell out of there because, well, they don't want a piece of it. And Penguin is starting to notice this is his. Like, yep, we're out of here. Including the woman announced she's out of there. Of course, Penguin's like, yep, let's get out of there. Gets the ducky. And it's also revealed in this scene that there's tires below it too, so it's not just a like boat, it's actually a moving vehicle. Pretty damn cool. Giant yellow ducky. Batman can look on his map and he can see that where he needs to intercept. He makes it to the surface, but Penguin doesn't get out of there in time. He tries. Basically gets intercepted by the bat. I don't know what the hell. I don't even know what the hell. And the ducky goes bye bye. And here we go. We got a little. This is like the second confrontation between. And despite being Penguin, he manages to stay hidden pretty well and surprises Batman. But he gets reversed pretty easily. Penguin is again like the Joker, a different kind of villain. It's like in a physical situation, can't do much, but he's still a very valuable piece of the puzzle whenever he's the problem. And at this point, Batman takes out this little switch, and at first we don't know what that means, but we start to find out that if we look around, it's like, yep, the penguins are right there with the rockets ready to go to launch with the press of a button. So basically, Penguin's home gets to be destroyed by his own penguins if all he does is press the button, which Penguin doesn't fully understand because he manages to get the detonator away from Batman's hand, and he actually goes and presses the button, which is, again, yeah, no. That missiles start going off right then and there, and then of course, for whatever reason, bats fly right out of Batman's vehicle or whatever the hell that is, and it goes right to Penguin, and he lands in the water. I don't fully understand why when he gets out of the water he's like bleeding, about to die. It's like, was it because of the bats, or was it the impact of the water, or what? It's not like he fell uh way too far or anything, but at the same time, could be. Then Max Shrek manages to take the keys away from the monkey and manages to get out of there. Well, almost get out of there, because a whip catches him by the ankle, and guess what? Who else has a whip in this movie? Nobody. Catwoman does. So again, this is her chance at revenge at Shrek, but he has no idea that she's Selena. But he finds a gun under the water. And at this point, Max is kind of like trying to plead for his life. He's like, I can get anything you want. Very big bowl of string. Fools. But she stops him, and then she wants his blood. She basically wants his life. Other than my blood, what else can I do for you? Like, sorry, Max, a die for a die. And then with Batman showing up, Max thinks that Batman's there to save him, which is not the case at all. So at this point, he's like, nope, shut up, you're going to jail. And he's like, the law doesn't apply to people like him or us. And Batman's like, nope, you're wrong on both counts. In other words, it does apply. And then at this point, Batman tries to get through. Why are you doing this? Like, let's just take this guy to the police and we can go home. So this is Batman's final attempt at like getting Selena, or should I say, even love. Basically tells her, and Max like, what? Kind of interesting how he says we're the same, because Dick says those same lines in Batman Forever. And in this scene, Batman takes his mask off, which you can tell how rubbery the damn suit. Of course, the eyeshadow gets. At this point, Max Shrek is like, "What the hell? He's Batman?" And there's a part of her that wants to go with him. Like, I would love to live with you. And then scratches him in the face. She's like, I just couldn't live with myself, so it's not a happy ending. As you can see, she's literally all over the place. Like, why are you dressed up like Batman, Bruce? And like, he is Batman, you moron. And then takes the gun out and just decides to shoot him. But thankfully, the suit protects him, even though he knocked out by the shot. Then she reveals that she's only. Max like, hey, only one way to find out. So that's pushing. Fires a few more and takes out a few of her lives. Again, he man going, walking towards him, and And she's laughing. I got 2 lives left. I might save one for next Christmas. But in the meantime, right here, this is paybacks. That taser from the beginning of the film basically tase the shit out of him, which she does. But during the process, when everything starts to blow up all over the place, he kind of hears. Batman can't tell. Actually, nobody can tell. Not the audience, not. Then Penguin submerges from water. But my big thing is, why in the hell is he bleeding? Why the hell does he look dying? And what's going on with that? Was it the bats? I mean, back to the water. Like, he's literally. How did all that happen? Maybe he just couldn't take that. But at this point, you almost kind of feel bad for him. When physical mannerisms, stuff like that, you kind of feel bad for Penguin. Oh, and then you find Max Shrek's body, and it's like, yep, there goes Max. And Penguin manages to actually get to umbrellas, but not. In your mind, you're thinking it's got to be the gun umbrella. One of the toy. Cute one. Oh, okay. The heat. Point. Yeah, it's like the 8 working way too hot. 5 and he basically says that the heat. Okay, that makes sense. And the only reason I'm actually the only reason why I was able to know that this time is because I'm looking at the subtitle. Well, I got subtitles on doing this. And before I wasn't using subtitles, I would just listen to the movie, but I just couldn't. Thought I understand what he was saying, but couldn't tell. But sometimes subtitles can definitely help, like definitely. And then there's penguins that kind of come out of nowhere and just kind of drag body down. Kind of a sad from the penguins' point of view. First he's floating, and then you see the reflection of the water. Of course, just like the first film, Alfred manages up, but I don't know how much later this is. This can't be on the same night. At least I don't think it is. Scratch is decently well healed. You can still see the scratch, but they're just driving, and then he's like, he thinks he sees Catwoman stop the car and alley, and he finds nothing but a cat. But he does take the cat though, and he looks around, doesn't see Catwoman anywhere. So it's kind of like a sad moment. He's kind of alone again, kind of like he was at the beginning of the movie. It's a really snowy night, and all there's there is a black one too, black one with yellow eyes. Similar to the one that lives in my neighborhood. And then he stops to look behind him to see if he Catwoman, and of course not there. He at least found the cat. and he's got like a sad look on, but he's got Alfred, and they share a little Merry Christmas and goodwill to our men and women. And the film kind of ends with the camera going up to the top of the building, but this time it's not Batman that you'd see there, although you would see the bat bat symbol going off, but the person looking at it is not Batman. Catwoman, who's top of the building. So, which basically signifies that yes, she did survive. Got one more life left, but she did survive. So, very interesting way to end the film. But that would be Michael Keaton, and as we go into credits here, that would be Michael Keaton's last Batman. I mean, there's the upcoming Flash movie where we're going to see him again, which is great, thank goodness. But um, but in terms of him being in his prime, or at least close to his prime, and as Batman, that's the last that we saw of Batman. Uh, with all due respect to Batman Returns, Batman 1989 was superior to this film. From a Batman standpoint, and when you look at it from all the angles, the original Batman was just superior. But at the same time, at least Tim Burton he wanted to make this type of movie the way it was, and he ended up making it. But yeah, that would be the last of Keaton's Batman that we would see, and then after that, we would get Batman Forever, and then Batman and Robin, and then everything would kind of be rebooted to Batman. So, um, a lot of mixed feelings about this film as a Batman film. Um, certain things I like about it, and certain things I don't. And to be honest, even if I were to rank these like the first four films of Batman, Batman 1989, Batman Returns, and Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin, honestly tell you, I wouldn't know where to place this one. Um, it's better than Batman and Robin, and I keep going back and forth on whether or not it's better than Batman Forever, because Batman Forever's got a lot of really good stuff in it. But yet at the same time, there's some stuff in this movie that are good, but it's just, I don't know, just a little too way too Tim Burton. But um, but yeah, again, this is one of the reasons why I wrote a script like to through Batman Returns. Who knows? And maybe I'll finish it. But like I said before, it takes place right after the first film, like literally right from where it left off. So, but it is 5:07 a.m. and Batman Returns is finished, and that pretty much completes the first four films. I've officially, I've made a video on, and the thing is that I recorded non-live commentaries for this, but I'm like, you know what, I'm going to redo it, and I'm going to do it live because live is better. So who knows, I might just pick up with Batman Begins later on, and then I'll go into the Dark Knight, and then the Dark Knight. I might do that. I might just get all the Batman films out of the way before moving on. Sure. But um but yeah, it was a blast to do all these films. I knew they were kind of a little bit out of order, but that's quite okay. But in terms of this film, again, a lot of mixed feelings about it, but I mean, I would have liked it to be a little bit different than what it was, but at the same time, when you're a child and when you see this film and you're happy that you got another Batman, and then when you see things as an adult, after you learn more about the source material and as well as how movies are made today compared to what they were made ago, 30 years ago, it's like, yeah, you start to see a few things. But in my opinion, the first film held up better than this. But that's just me. So anyway, I am going to cut the commentary here and go offline. So very much for the company for the watched and or just decided to listen. Awesome. And I know it is very late if you're in the States, so totally get it. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with another Batman film, who knows, or something completely. So anyway, thanks again. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Hope you enjoyed it. And I'll catch you later.